Hey everybody, you're listening to the Cranks Creek Life podcast, where we discuss random topics and share bits and shreds of information to help you not only live life, but savor it. Welcome to episode 10 of Cranks Creek Life. I'm writing solo in the Cranks Creek studio today, and we're diving back into the world of scams. Why? Because a case that recently made headlines caught my attention. It was a June 24th press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of New York. And trust me, this one is worth talking about. According to the allegations in the criminal complaint, the victim received what appeared to be a Microsoft security alert directing them to call a telephone number. The complaint further alleges that, from there, a 39-year-old individual attempted to scam a New York resident out of $360,000. Today, I'll briefly walk you through this technical support scam scenario, step by step, highlighting some of the key red flags that can help you and your loved ones avoid becoming victims. Understand, friends, this isn't petty theft. It's financial devastation. These scams are growing at an alarming rate, and criminals aren't looking for a quick couple $100. They're targeting bank accounts, retirement accounts, your entire life savings. By the time it's over, some victims lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is important to remember that these are allegations outlined in the criminal complaint. While the defendant has been charged with a crime, those allegations have not been proven in court. And like anyone accused of a crime, he is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Before we get started, a quick reminder that the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this podcast are my own and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of my employer or any other organization with which I'm affiliated. There you go. That's my attempt at keeping my attorney happy. Now let's talk about what allegedly happened. So according to the criminal complaint, the scam began when a man, Dee Zoe, was said to have posed as a Microsoft security representative. The victim received what appeared to be a legitimate Microsoft security alert on their computer screen, instructing them to call a telephone number for assistance. That brings us to our first red flag. Legitimate Microsoft security messages do not tell consumers to call a telephone number. Also, be aware that some of these scams start out as someone trying to help you fix a computer problem by paying a fee for a service. Fix a problem that is non-existent. They may first ask for a credit card number to fix the problem and likely tell you the card did not go through, and to try another card so they can capture even more of your sensitive information. So from there, this victim calls a telephone number and speaks to someone purported to be a representative from Microsoft, a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, named Logan. This is the moment the scam escalates. Logan tells the victim that someone has attempted to steal $22,000 from their bank account. He claims the transaction was stopped just in time, but insists the victim's money is still in immediate danger, setting the stage for the next phase of the scam. You need to know that Microsoft does not monitor any consumer's bank account, so they would never know someone attempted any transaction on your account. And if you listen to episode 7, you'll recognize the urgency and fear that was created in this situation. Scammers do this because they do not want you pausing, checking facts, or contacting someone you trust, which you need to remember are all part of your primary response and defense. Logan then provides the victim with a case number and transfers the victim to the cyber fraud division of their bank. He connects the victim with Mr. Christopher Martin, an accomplice in the scam, who informs the victim that he was also the liaison between the bank and the Internal Revenue Service. How convenient. Friends, please know that Microsoft would never transfer a customer directly to the fraud department of a bank or credit union. Additionally, a bank employee would not normally serve as a liaison between a customer's bank and the IRS. Combining several trusted institutions is a common impersonation tactic. And case numbers, employee names, and official-sounding departments can easily be fabricated. Do not assume someone is legitimate because they provide or even know a case number, account balance, personal information, or details from an earlier conversation. This information only creates the appearance of legitimacy, but proves nothing. Next, Martin advises the victim to set up an account with the IRS through their personal banking site and move the victim's funds to the IRS bank because of the hackers in the victim's computer. There is no special IRS bank where consumers move their money for protection. The IRS does not establish protective accounts through a person's bank website. They administer and enforce tax laws, nothing else. Then, at Martin's instruction, the victim downloaded a software that enabled remote access to the victim's computer. This essentially allowed Martin to take over the victim's keyboard and guide the victim through an online banking process. Martin also likely gained access to the victim's banking details and passwords during this process. Here's a rule that can save you thousands of dollars. Never download software because a stranger on the phone tells you to. If it's not from the official Microsoft store, an official Microsoft partner, or a company you already know and trust, don't install it. And the second someone wants to remote access to your computer while you sign into your bank or credit union account, end the call. That's not technical support. It's a bank robbery, just carried out through a keyboard instead of with a gun. The victim subsequently, again at Martin's instruction, gave $20,000 to an IRS agent at a coffee shop near their residence by obtaining gold coins to protect their funds in the IRS banking account. The victim made 5 purchases of gold coins, and each time an IRS agent would travel from Flushing, New York to pick up the gold package. The 5th purchase occurred on June 18th, after the victim, working with investigators, gave the gold coins to the IRS agent. Defendant Zoe was taken into custody. Requests to convert savings into gold, cryptocurrency, gift cards, or cash are extremely desirable to scammers. Why? These assets are difficult to recover and can be transferred without the protections associated with ordinary banking transactions. Let's make this crystal clear. No legitimate government agency is going to send an agent to meet you at a coffee shop, a parking lot, your home, or any other location to protect your money. And the IRS will never dispatch a courier to collect cash, gold, gift cards, or other valuables as part of a fraud investigation. If someone tells you otherwise, you're not dealing with the government, you're dealing with a scammer. Another flag, scammers commonly begin with one payment and continue requesting more once they know the victim will cooperate. Each successful transaction increases the pressure and financial loss. In this scam, the couriers travel from Flushing, New York to the victim's area. A distant individual repeatedly traveling to collect packages is also inconsistent with legitimate government or banking procedures. It just doesn't happen. Additionally, the victim was instructed to keep wealth outside the normal banking system. Legitimate banks can freeze accounts, block transfers, and replace compromised credentials. They have some great ways to protect consumers, and certainly would never protect funds by asking their customers to buy gold and hand it to strangers. In total, this scammer targeted about $360,000 in assets from the victim. It is not known how much was lost or has been recovered. This complaint is the result of a thorough investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, and the New York State Police. The case is being prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorneys Paul Bonanno and Colleen McCarthy. If you think this case is unbelievable, here's the truly frightening part. It's not an outlier. It's one of thousands. These imposter scams are spreading at an alarming pace because they exploit something every one of us depends on: trust. In the case I just shared, it's only a glimpse into a much larger criminal ecosystem. As I've discussed in previous episodes, these scams are often powered by sophisticated, organized networks operating across multiple countries. Behind the fake Microsoft alerts, phone calls, and urgent warnings are people with specialized roles, creating the malware, routing the calls, coaching the scammers, laundering the money, and constantly refining the tactics. And the deeper you dig, the darker the stories become. I'll point to a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office Western District of North Carolina, from back in February of this year. That release announced that 3 men were arrested for their involvement in a multi-million-dollar technical support fraud scheme. It was a well-coordinated international criminal enterprise in which each conspirator had a specialized job. Same scenario as I described earlier. Begins with malicious pop-up ads that suddenly freeze victims' computers, false claims that they are infected with viruses. The alerts then instruct victims to call a phone number for technical support, but the calls are actually routed to call centers in India, where scammers impersonate Microsoft representatives. Victims are convinced to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to fix computer problems that don't exist. According to prosecutors, Nashikit Banwari, a Charlotte, North Carolina resident, worked for Capstone Technologies, a company that used the fake pop-ups and overseas call centers to defraud thousands of victims. Capstone alone generated more than $7 million from the scheme, and Banwari received approximately $222,000. Hunter G. Mello of Massachusetts served as a broker between the creators of the malicious pop-ups and the fraudulent call centers. He sold the incoming victim calls to the call centers, generated more than $20 million in pop-up sales, and used his financial accounts to transfer fraud proceeds to overseas bank accounts. Prosecutors say he personally profited by as much as $2 million. And then there is Richard Paul Nolan of Colorado, who created and operated a technology platform called TrackDrive, which automatically routed victim calls from the fake pop-ups to the fraudulent call centers. Prosecutors say his platform directed approximately 15 million calls and helped ensure the pop-ups displayed the correct phone numbers. Nolan also transferred fraud proceeds overseas and allegedly earned about $2 million. The losses associated with his role were estimated at $19 million. Again, I'm citing this case in particular so you can get a better picture of how these modern tech support scams often function as sophisticated criminal networks, with different participants responsible for generating victims, routing calls, operating fraudulent call centers, and moving the stolen money across international borders. You can read the U.S. Attorney General press release, which has a bit of information on the sentencing through the link I provided in the show notes. Remember, these scammers first pretend to be trusted companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, and other tech companies you do business with. Different logo, different script, same objective. Frighten you into giving them access to your computer, your accounts, and your life savings. The lesson from these cases is simple. No legitimate technology company, bank, or government agency will ask you to move money to a safe account, download remote access software, buy gold, or hand cash or valuables to a courier. Scammers create fear, use official-sounding titles, and keep victims moving from one urgent step to the next. Stop, end the call, and independently contact your bank or the agency using a trusted phone number. Most importantly, talk with a family member or someone you trust before moving a large amount of money. A brief pause can prevent a devastating loss. If you or a loved one suspect a tech support, bank imposter, government imposter, cash courier, or gold courier scam, you should report it to local law enforcement, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at ic3.gov, and the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Victims age 60 or older can also contact the Department of Justice's National Elder Fraud Hotline at 833-372-8311 for help in filing a report. I truly hope this information was helpful. Please do check the show notes, as I've included a link to Microsoft's own site, which has some great info, including prevention and response tips. And Christy and I will hold true to our promise about the 2 nostalgia episodes on deck, which will include toys, vintage fashion, old school electronics, and a whole pile of pop culture gems from back in the day. Keep checking back for those, or better yet, subscribe to our email so you can be notified. Thanks for hanging with me today, This is Cranks Creek, random, unfiltered, and a little off center. And remember, cut through the noise, folks, and savor the ride. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to rate and review Cranks Creek Life on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps us grow, reach new listeners, and keep bringing you stories that matter. We'd love to hear what you think. Your comments can truly help shape the next episodes. And please subscribe to our email list so you can stay well informed of new podcasts. Thanks again, friends. Stay safe out there.